Should be good today because I say so. I'm putting it into the universe. I'm going to have good connection. And we're live.
Awesome.
Welcome, everyone, to another Facebook Live with Dr. Nelva Bryant. I'm Greta Russo, and this is our dear friend, Dr. Bryant, who is also known as the pet travel expert. She is an employee for Delta Airlines and is the only veterinarian in the travel industry. And she also is the founder of her own company, When Pets Fly. Everyone, please help me welcome Dr. Bryant.
Yeah.
Yay!
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us again for another Facebook Live. As I said before, I like to introduce all the people I've met these past few years that in a sense, they're stakeholders in the pet travel industry. Lately, we've been focusing on, have quite a few folks here discussing service animals, and Greta's doing things regarding service animals and learning things about transportation of animals or pets in general on different modes of transportation, such as on buses with Greyhound, Amtrak, and even on cruise lines. So, Greta,
Yes.
actually, share a little bit about that, if you don't mind.
Yes. So it was so strange on Instagram. I saw a post from one of your followers indicating the only cruise line that allows pets on their ships. Now, and don't get me wrong, service dogs are allowed everywhere that they're human goats.
Right.
But I'm talking about our everyday pet that can go with them, and they don't have to be an emotional support animal either. So I thought that was amazing and wanted to share the information about Cunard Cruise. And the specifics with allowing your pet is it is on one specific ship, which is their Queen Mary 2. And the only destinations it can go is between New York City and Germany or England, and it can come back from both of those places to New York City. So that's their transatlantic destination line. And that's the only one that it's allowed on. There's a whole section of the ship that is dedicated to them. There are a limited amount of kennels that they have available for your pet. So getting a reservation at times can be like a year-long wait, depending on when you want to go. So definitely you can check out more information on winpets.com, which is When Pets Flies website. We have our article there. And you can also give Cunard a call or an email to find out more. And we have their contact information on the site as well.
Oh, I think that's good. But ultimately, too, as you were saying before, we've got people with their service animals or service dogs that potentially might want to travel in different forms of modes of transportation. So be good. I believe your next step, hopefully, is that we can find out how people will travel with service dogs on different cruise lines, and again, Amtrak or potentially Greyhound and stuff.
Yeah.
That would be good information to add in there too. Um,
Yes.
that
Well,
would
also on the website is the article that was just put up about Amtrak and a regular pet. So the Amtrak's train line, which everyone knows is all over America and I believe some parts of Canada, and they allow regular pets as well. So I interviewed Amtrak and put that article on your website as well. So again, everybody can, if they enjoy taking the train, and it's any of the lines that go across America. You can check out the article on winpets.com. This weekend, I'm actually writing two more articles that will relate directly to service dogs. And that will be with Greyhound and again, back with Amtrak. Cunard Cruise Line, and then also with Greyhound and Amtrak.
no,
So
that's good. Definitely
yeah,
need and everything. It reminds me. Remember, we just had our guest Sheila Goff of AKC was talking about the service dog pass, which I think is a
Yes.
very see in those instances. Again, I know it's kind of she's in a sense she said it's like a soft launch she's done thus far with the service dog pass, but there's other forms of transportation I think really would be beneficial to use uh, the service dog pass. And the service dog pass, so you guys know, it's basically it's a pass. She says it's renewed every 2 years. It attests that the animal actually is a true service dog and everything. It's not. It's basically the organization is doing is through the AKC Animal. I'm sorry, American Kennel Club. So it's a legitimate organization. They have this, and they are attesting basically that these dogs are true service dogs. It takes away the well, it protects the human portion of the connection of the service dog and human, because they don't have to always say give out their disability associated with the use of their service dog. So it gives them a little bit more darn it, confidentiality in reference to that. So I think that's a really good thing there with the service dog pass. And what I want to do actually with these next coming sessions that we have, I want to introduce more information about service dogs and just service animals in general. I really am happy what you're doing, Greta, as far as investigating further as far as the modes of transportation for people with their service animals, so they'll have an idea what they need to do, because again, a lot of this information is not out there widely known. So I like that. I think this actually segues really good into what we're doing. Like I said, I want to speak more on service animals, provide more education. Today, I'm bringing on a very good colleague of mine. Her name is Dr. Rhesa Houston, that actually has a very good, she's a veterinarian, and she has a nice business that she started on her own in reference to helping people obtain service animals. So that's what we're going to do today. Anything further you want to discuss before we lead into her, Greta?
Let's see. No, I know that I guess I want to go back on just pointing out
Oh, that's fine.
again, you know,
That's fine.
the service dog pass. What I love about that is the pet's version of a TSA pass.
Yeah, that's
So
right.
all of their information is stored in the database. And the great thing is that service animal handlers do not have to bring all this paperwork along with them in sharing it with just random people who are at the ticket counter or TSA checkpoint. So it's just on the service pass, it just validates that you do have a service dog because it has been put through these different tests to make sure it is a service dog. And every 2 years you have to renew, and it's $20. So I believe that the American Kennel Club really came up with a fantastic program, and I look forward to your company, When Pets Fly, being able to help promote it once it really goes live.
Oh yeah, no, I think it's a really good thing too. Honestly, a great ad for individuals that utilize service dogs. So I think it's good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, you know what? Why don't we bring Dr. Houston on to join us, and we will be able to learn more from her, not only about service dogs, but she also works with emotional support animals, and you know, see how she is a great benefit to the people and obtaining these animals to be a part of their life.
Yep. There
So
she is.
let's see.
There she is now. Hey there.
Okay. Hi,
Hi,
Dr. Rhesa.
hi guys. How are you all?
Good. How you
Good,
doing?
good, good.
I'm good.
Um, Thank you so much for joining our show. Let's see, I guess what I'll do is read the bio, and then we can have our pretend clap, Dr. Bryant.
Wait, wait,
Uh,
because I'm on my phone. Darn it.
oh,
So
that's right. That's
yeah, I'm on
right.
my
It's usually on the phone, and then because instead of having the button to push for the clap, we just
yeah.
clap in the
We're
air.
gonna do our hand claps for you and everything. But yes, Rhesa and I, like I said briefly beforehand, very happy to have Rhesa here. guys are going to be great, excited to hear about her background. But I'll just say a little bit about her before Greta, you give her bio. Um, uh, Rhesa and a colleague of hers came. I invited them to Delta for a seminar. We have developed a whole advisory board, and I had her and her colleague come and talk about service animals for it was like a half-day seminar. It was very outstanding and very well received. You have no idea how it really was a good event. I got kudos from really high up people within Delta in reference to you coming. So I'm really really happy you're here with us today, and thank you again for supporting me in what you did back then.
No, absolutely. Thank you for inviting us. Well, we enjoyed ourselves
Mm-hmm.
doing what we love to do, right?
So absolutely.
But
well, Dr. Rhesa Houston has special interests in public health with a special focus on the human health and wellness benefits of the human-animal bond. The specific focus of interest is what inspired Dr. Houston to create Assistance Animals Consulting, a virtual consulting firm of licensed veterinarians focused on maximizing the therapeutic application of the human-animal bond. Dr. Houston is in her 15 plus years as a veterinarian has worked as as a small animal general practitioner, relief veterinarian, and veterinary consultant in multiple states such as Arizona, Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. Dr. Houston has also held leadership roles such as medical director and area medical director in her professional journey. Dr. Rhesa Houston currently works for Hills Pet Nutrition as the professional consulting veterinarian for the SoCal region and is based out of Phoenix, Arizona. Dr. Houston enjoys motivating audiences through her educational workshops in veterinary medicine, physiological, psychological, and emotional health and wellness in relation to the human-animal bond, navigating the hazards of compassion, fatigue within the veterinarian profession, and youth education and leadership development. Dr. Houston earned a Doctor of Veterinary Medicine from Tuskegee University and her Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Piedmont University. Presently, Dr. Houston lives in Phoenix, Arizona with her fiance, trial teenage son, Ethan, and crazy but lovable cat, Tootsie Pop. Dr. Houston enjoys traveling and exploring other cultures, warm beaches, soccer, paddleboarding, great wine, and fine dining. Please, everyone, help us welcome Dr. Houston.
Yeah.
Thank you, Greta. I appreciate it.
Bill, 15 years. Oh my goodness. That's
I'm still a baby. I'm still a baby.
her because I've been 30 years, so I can. But no, she's awesome. Actually, you've done a lot in that 15 years. You've done a lot of great things. So that's good.
Really, thank you. Good. Thank you.
Very impressive career, Dr. Houston, and I want to thank you so much for joining us today. So I'm looking forward to hearing you talk about your company. So if you could please tell us about your company, as well as leading right into what is the difference between a service dog, emotional support animal, and an assistance animal.
Yeah. So my company, as you indicated, is Assistance Animals Consulting. And when the reason why I named it is because assistance animals is an umbrella term that encompasses service dogs, emotional support animals, and pet therapy teams, right? So my goal as a veterinary professional is to be able to provide veterinary oversight in this aspect of veterinary medicine, right? So all of these animals and their handlers in some type of way engage in the public sector. So my goal is, one, to help maximize public health and safety. 2, as a veterinary professional, advocate for these animals working in these spaces. And 3, provide a cohesive partnership, right? So if you're using animals to support human health and well-being, or to improve human health and well-being, there's usually a human medical professional counterpart that, in my opinion, should partner with a veterinary professional to help create a more robust therapy plan for the individuals participating in this aspect of human animal healthcare. And so that's essentially why I created assistance animal consulting. Now, when you talk about the difference between service dogs, emotional support, and emotional support animals, there's a stark difference that oftentimes people get confused. And so essentially, the service animals are defined by the American Disabilities Act, and people who have a service animal or a service dog, 1, they have a disability. 2, if they have a service dog, that service dog has to be trained to support this individual, and that training must be specifically related to that disability, right? So, for example, what we all know, have initially learned about, the first service animal anybody has ever experienced are CNI dogs, right?
Yeah.
And so a CNI dog helps provide guidance to a person with visual impairment, regardless of the spectrum of the visual impairment. So it's specifically task trained animal to support that individual with that specific disability, versus emotional support animals, right? So, there are different types of service dogs. Let me be very clear. For a variety of different disabilities, versus emotional support animals. Most of the time, in my experience, emotional support animals are typically prescribed, right? Not self-prescription, prescribed by a human healthcare professional, right? So whether it's a licensed counselor, psychiatrist, or doctor, they must be licensed, okay? But typically, it is to support mental health and wellness. So, and this person too must have a disability that impacts their mental health and wellness.
So,
but the difference is, yes.
You were saying, though, this is even with emotional support, they have to have something diagnosed and be.
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
They're kind of just jumping over that.
They must be under the care of a licensed healthcare professional. Now, the difference, a difference is oftentimes it's some type of mental healthcare professional. And with emotional support animals, it can be any species of animal, because really it's related to that person's mental health and wellness and whatever animal they connect to. So whether it's a cat, dog, bird, rabbit, peacock,
I've heard of, I don't know if you've heard of the reptile called a skink, but there was a person that had an emotional support skink. That was a big deal that we dealt with, unfortunately, a couple of years back with the airline. Not saying unfortunately, but we were trying to make sure it got to this destination safely. I'll just say, just side note, the issue with the animal was the fact that it was a reptile, and reptiles are not allowed in cabin. So we had to transport it by cargo, but it was emotional support. And it was like, oh my goodness, we've got to make sure this is done properly and correctly, because this is this person's emotional support skink. So it was extremely important, extremely crucial that we got it correct as far as the transport. And we made it to its destination perfectly fine and everything. But we were just nervous because we want to make sure the temperature, everything was going perfectly fine.
Exactly.
Didn't want to interfere with the need. That person needed that skink. Even though it was a skink, to someone say, oh, it's just a lizard, it was more than a lizard to that person. So it's very
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah, so that's really important. And, the other very specific difference between service dogs and emotional support animals is emotional support animals don't have to have the same type of robust training as service dogs, right? Emotional support animals don't have to have task training whatsoever, because it's more of a comfort. It's more of how they're bonded. And that's kind of where in my opinion, some of the challenges began to arise when you started having people, again, in my professional opinion, abuse this ability to be able to take public transportation, whether it's via flight, train, or bus, and utilize this prescription as an emotional support animal to carry their personal pets that did not have appropriate training into these public spaces. And then you started having some of the outcomes that we saw, which were, these animals potentially being fearful and acting aggressively towards, other passengers, instead areas. So.
Yeah, that was a very interesting time a couple of years back in reference to that. I mean, you would hear quite frequently either someone was getting bit by, flight attendant, or a passenger getting bit by supposed to be an emotional support dog. It was a really awful time and everything. So I'm very happy, to be honest with you. I mean, it happened during the pandemic that they finally put the ruling out that a service animal, number one, is a service dog. And they're the ones that have the right to be in cabin as far as transportation, not the emotional support. So I'm very happy.
Yeah. Well, and the thing with service dogs, as I was saying, they have to be task trained. But it's important to say that training is not required to be by a certified dog trainer. And so it can be questionable still there on how well the animal is trained. If training is coming from a person that may not be partnering with an animal professional that has the best oversight on proper training, but still they must have basic training and task training related to the disability.
Yeah, definitely. Were we going to say something, Greta?
Well, I just, out of the things, great things that Dr. Houston has said so far, what really struck me was that emotional support animals have to be certified. Like, I don't think a lot of people knew that aspect.
Let me clarify. Not certified. So it gets that, but it must be prescribed. It must be prescribed. Yes. Same thing with service dogs. Service dogs need to be prescribed by their licensed healthcare professional. You can't be somebody that just all of a sudden says, "Oh, I have a service dog," which happens more frequently than you would believe.
Yes. They actually need, both of them need a prescription from a doctor.
Okay. Yes. It's very interesting because I think I mentioned to you offline, I know someone was asking me, how does one go about getting a service animal if they need it one? And I know I'm probably jumping up and down with your questions and stuff eventually you might have, and I hope I'm not putting you out of order, but how would one go about if a family member has a disability, how do they go about getting a service animal? Or is it something that anyone with a disability can get it, is a thought? So is it automatic is the question?
So it's not automatic. And there are quite frankly stages to it, right? Okay. In my ideal world, as a veterinary professional who, as a small animal practitioner, has seen people come in with service dogs and seeing behavioral issues and having concerns about this animal working in this space, as well as, having started this company and supporting individuals who have purchased service dogs that did not have appropriate training. I think that there are challenges here that I hope to help people avoid. So to your question, how do you acquire a service dog? First, my recommendation is to speak with a professional who is experienced in this arena, right? That can partner with your healthcare professional to help determine your lifestyle, your disability needs, and what would be the best animal to fit for your lifestyle and your disability needs. That's one of the things of what we do as we partner with people who are starting this process, right? Then from there, once we decide that, we can determine the size of the dog, right? So a person who is looking for a mobility support dog, service dog, doesn't need a Chihuahua, right? So really there has to be a very comprehensive conversation with with everybody involved to select the appropriate dog. Now, once it comes time to choose the dog, you have choices. Yes, there are organizations that provide service dogs. And it just depends on the task training that your disability requires. So yes, you have the ability to pay for a service dog. Sometimes you can pay upwards of $20,000 for a trained service dog for your disability. You have the option of maybe adopting a dog, right? And then paying to partner with the trainer so that dog is with you at all times, and then you're learning and training at the same time, right? Or you could purchase a dog, that not adopting, but you can come up with a dog and you can train yourself or send to a trainer. So really, ultimately, the best way to do this is before going out and just buying a dog, because you might not get the best thing for your money, is to partner with your healthcare professional, your veterinarian, your regular veterinarian, and then someone who works in this area of blending these, like, Assistance Animals Consulting, to help align all of these steps for you, so you don't find yourself in a situation where you've paid X amount of money for a dog that is not going to work in that role, or who doesn't want to work in that role. So
definite. Wow. Very detailed. Very detailed.
This is what I do.
I always joke this because I think it was the funniest scene. And I've told you, Greta, before. The funniest thing I've ever seen was going through the concourse of the airport to my gate. It was early in the morning. My son and I were walking, and someone was coming in the opposite direction with their supposed to be their service dog, I guess, and they were pulling it. The dog didn't want to go any further. They were pulling it, and it just made me chuckle because it just says, this dog said, nope, I ain't doing no more. I'm tired and everything. So, but also in my mind, it illustrated that could not have been a true service dog in reference to that, because I would hope that the service dogs would be, wouldn't have that type of behavior where they're defiant and everything like that. So
yeah, and I'm very cautious of how I word those things. Maybe it is a true service dog, right? That does not have the appropriate advocate, right? So is it having too long of a work day?
It was early, yeah. So maybe tired. Right.
Yeah, is it freaking scared? Is that service dog, is it time for that service dog to retire? Does that dog have arthritis, where it's painful? And so really there has to be an animal advocate, a person knowledgeable about animal health and animal behavior. And animal health is not just physical health, but mental health.
Yes.
Right?
Right.
So animal health and behavior to help people who are not familiar with animal welfare on deciding, does this dog need to continue in this role? Do I need to retire this dog? Do I need to look for another dog and allow this dog to become a companion animal? Right. And I think that's where currently, when you think of this whole scope of service dogs, there's a major gap in that veterinary oversight.
Definite. Animal welfare. I mean, I'm working in the airline industry to promote animal welfare. What you're doing is helping that way, promoting animal welfare. It's outstanding.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let's get to our next question, which is what are the differences between the travel restrictions for service dogs compared to emotional support dog animals?
Yeah. So you guys kind of were talking about it earlier, I believe, and maybe in some of your previous segments. But the reality of it is that service dogs, how I like to pose it, is a service dog is like a wheelchair, right? You're not going to remove a person from their wheelchair, if they have a disability.
Right.
That's how service dogs are. They are there to support their handler with their disability, which ultimately means that for the most part, they can go every place that their handler goes. Now, there are some restrictions, in regards to going everywhere, but for the most part, they can go everywhere that their handler goes. Emotional support animals do not have those same rights of access. The only thing, with getting that prescription for an emotional support animals, how that is effective is when it comes to a person who maybe is renting a home, that it allows them to have this animal if there are animal restrictions as part of their rental agreement. Right. So that doesn't mean that emotional support animals have the same rights of access, because they don't, nowhere near at all. So that's the difference. They don't have the same rights of access as a service dog.
No, it's good.
I have a question on that. So now that mental health is becoming a focus point with society overall, and from what I learned, if I heard you correctly, emotional support animals have to be prescribed, so that tells me that that animal is just as important as the service dog, because the service dog is taking care of your physical disabilities, where the emotional support animal is taking care of the mental disabilities. So if somebody has, let's see, what is it called? When they have severe anxiety or get anxiety attacks very frequently, is there a way to go further in the approval channels to make sure that the emotional support animal can go everywhere as if it was a service dog? I guess I'm trying to, I can understand how everybody had to swoop in, and because there really was so many people taking advantage of the system, and they ruined it for everybody. So everyone said, okay, no more emotional support animals, they're not allowed. Well, there's so many people with mental disabilities that need these emotional support animals legitimately. Is there an extra step that they can take to say, yes, she can bring her emotional support animal on the plane or in the restaurant or wherever a service dog would go?
The very clear and specific answer to that regarding emotional support animals is no, right? However, there are psychiatric support service dogs, where a person that has, post-traumatic stress disorder or severe anxiety or severe depression, there are dogs trained to support these types of debilitating disabilities. But again, they have to be task trained to support this individual's psychiatric disability in some type of way. So then for those persons that may have this type of debilitating mental health issue, they then need to move to the next step of saying, okay, can I train this dog to help me with this disability, and then it transition into a psychiatric support service dog. But an emotional support animal, as it states right now, by all laws, is unable to jump into that, right? They have to be a service dog.
Yep. Well, again, the defining thing with it is they have to be trained. You're saying trained. The prescribed.
Trained.
And the difference is one is trained and the other one isn't.
Yeah, task trained, okay. Right? That is a very important key word.
That is key, because if I say trained alone, it's like, oh, basic training, obedience training. No, task trained for that disability too, right?
That's correct.
Yeah.
So this other type of support dog that you mentioned, I have never heard of that before. So number one is, okay, and it could just be me because I don't need one. You know what I mean? So I'm asking this, assuming I'm not the only dum here, but is that commonly known in the world, or is it something people need to look up, or just give you a call and you'll help them figure it all out?
A little bit of both, right? So you don't know what you don't know. And if you don't know who to go to, you still don't know, right? So that's the importance of partnering with professionals that can help you navigate the space. And this space, as it comes to service animals and emotional support animals, is, when you think of veterinary medicine and human medicine, is a fast emerging field where even some of the professionals, human healthcare and veterinary professionals in this space, don't know either, right? I just so happen to be a veterinarian where my life circumstances forced me to learn more about this space, and then allow that learning gave me the forethought to create this organization to provide guidance for people. So there are all types of service dogs, and to this day, I'm still learning when someone has, a disability, and I find out, oh, this animal can be trained for that disability. So to your question, yes, it's best to ask your veterinarian or ask your human health professional or give us a call, so we can help you navigate this space.
And if I could just quickly ask you that, and I forgot the name of the dog, the type of dog already. Can you tell us about that third option again that we're talking about, and what it serves? And definitely I recommend everybody reaching out to Dr. Houston to find out more, and checking out her website. But if you could please just clearly define to us again what that is.
Yeah, it's just what I call as a psychiatric service dog. So many veterans with disabilities who have been diagnosed with PTSD. This is a common service dog in that area for veterans. But oftentimes these dogs can be trained to remind their handler to take medicine. Some of them are trained to kind of go out and search for danger and, inform their handler that everything is okay. They can stop. Some of them can be trained if a person has a mental disability where they're causing self-trauma. Some of these dogs could be trained to help stop self-mutilation. So really it's individualized for the person with their disability, but ultimately the name of those service dogs are called psychiatric support service dogs.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's amazing. I can't believe we learned about something so critical here on the show.
Yeah, I think that's good. Hey, while you're at it, I would say tell us more about the other different types of service dogs that are used. What else are they used for?
Yeah, so I'm going to actually go off my list, right? Okay. I have a little list here, because most of the time it never fails. I always seem to, potentially leave one out. But there's seizure response service dogs. There is some scientific documentation out there that says, hey, dogs can alert a person with seizures that they have an oncoming seizure, but that evidence right now is not consistent, right? You do have your dogs that can alert, but most of the time, seizure support service dogs, in my opinion, should be trained to support the handler by retrieving medication, standing guard over the person if they're actively having a seizure, or going to find someone for support. Right now, as scientific evidence is showing, I don't even attempt to say right now that I can refer you to a person that can train your dog or trains dog for seizure alert. Okay.
It's difficult, I don't know how they would do it. But I guess, again, dogs sense a lot with us. So it's probably really subjective. How do you really monitor that? But they do sense things with them.
Yes. And there's some dogs that have that natural innate ability, but how do you train for that, for it to be consistent, is where there's still a gap. There's mobility support service dogs, which essentially, a person with a physical disability that messes with their equilibrium or their ability to move appropriately. These service dogs can help maintain their stability, or they can go and do tasks like pick things up, or, things of that nature. Pull a wheelchair, close a door. So those are mobility support service dogs. Some of the disabilities that mobility support dogs support are people with arthritis, fibromyalgia, gait difficulties, multiple sclerosis, muscular dystrophy, some other neurological issues. So any type of issue that may cause a challenge with their walking or mobility, a mobility support dog can help. There's a medical alert service dog. Medical alert service dogs I like to say these dogs more or less help people who may have a spike or a drop in their blood sugar levels. That is something that we know can be trained and can be consistently trained. Or there are even some other hormonal levels that have a scent to them that these dogs can detect, and warn their handler that they need to take some medicine, or they need to sit down, or even they have some dogs can be trained to use a special phone to call for support. So those are medical alert service dogs. Cardiac support service dogs, and this is how I got into this. My dad's support animal was a cardiac support service animal. He had a pacemaker. Now, this one is a little bit challenging. So here we are telling, people that to have a service dog, they have to be task trained. How do you task train for cardiac support? However, what science has shown is that dog ownership lowers blood pressure, regulates heart, decreases stressful situations. I believe the American Heart Association, I'm gonna try to find it, put out back in 2013, a scientific statement about how dogs can help with people's recovery. If they've had a cardiac incident, it helps their recovery process. I wish I could find it. I can't find it. But so don't quote me on that. But but they're cardiac support dogs that need behavior training and help people get up and become walking to help with their cardiac health or their heart health, right? They're visual impaired service dogs, which we know are CNI dogs. There's hearing impaired service dogs for people that can alert them with the doorbell ringing, smoke alarms or fire detectors. And then there's psychiatric support service dogs. And then This one that is emerging is autism support service dogs, or sensory signal service dogs. And right now, some of the literature says that these dogs can help for persons with autism increase their social function, awareness, their interaction, and just overall motivation in life. And some of the tasks that these dogs can be trained to do is to distract their handler from repetitive movements. There's some people that do tethering, particularly for children with autism. And there's differing opinions on using tethering for service dogs to support individuals with autism. And so really, when it comes to autism support, I think that is very, very individualized. And this is an area where there really needs to be comprehensive conversation with the human healthcare provider, the person with the disability, or the family members, and the veterinarian, to figure out what is the best way to train the dog to support the individual with autism. So
that's perfect. Thank you. You help answer the question first, the person, so that's perfect. I love it. Thank you. Great.
Well, another question that has come up, how can we reduce stress or symptoms of stress when traveling, I guess any mode, but particularly flying with a service dog?
Yeah, so in this particular question, traveling is stressful for all involved. But in my opinion, the reality of it is, if your service dog is constantly getting stressed out traveling, then maybe that animal does not need to be used in a service dog as a service dog, if you're going to do a lot of traveling, because it's unfair for that animal to continuously be placed in a situation where they're not comfortable, right? And it's causing them anxiety. So I would exercise caution there. Are there things that we can do in general to reduce stress? Certainly, for companion animals, there are different types of pheromones, supplements, even some foods that we know can help reduce stress while traveling. But when it comes to service dogs, I'm going to be a bit more reserved.
Yes. You know what? I've heard people saying, and this is back with the support stages, but they're saying, "Oh, I'm going to give my emotional support dog some an antihistamine to calm it during transport." I was like, well, isn't that defeating the purpose of what it's supposed to be doing? It's truly an emotional support, or either way, providing something for you. It's sleeping. How is it supporting you in this instance? So either way, if somebody now we're in a service animal as far as service dogs, you can't sedate them because
that's correct.
They have a job to do, and that will impair. So yeah.
So the medications can impair them from doing their job, which is to support you.
Right.
And on top of that, if you find yourself consistently medicating your service dog when they're in a public place where they're supposed to be supporting you, then there's something off there where that animal needs some advocacy and conversations on, is this the right role for this animal?
Yeah. Also maybe is he trained in we'll go back to acclimation, Greta, as far as being acclimated to the environment. Does it require more training to become more acclimated to this?
Yeah.
Well, aren't the service dogs already trained, almost like they've been downloaded with everything they need to know and do before they're given to the handler? Because like when I saw the question, I was like, well, I didn't think this was even possible. Like, the service dog shouldn't have any stress? Because they're
I mean, you're right. But let's go back to the front end of our conversation. a person with a disability does not have to purchase a pre-trained service dog.
Yeah.
They have all the right to do their own training. So really, oftentimes, what I see in practice and what I've seen in practice is that I've seen service dogs with poor training and phenomenal training and everything in between. So this is an underregulated arena, particularly when it comes to training and evaluating and assessing the training, that you just have a vast variety of service dogs with different training capabilities. And so it's very common, well, should I say, it's not uncommon for us to see animals working in a service dog capacity showing signs of fear, anxiety, and stress, where they need some additional training and or support in order for them to maintain their role as a service dog.
But if they're not officially trained by an organization, are they still an official service dog? Don't they have to get some kind of certification?
No, they don't have to technically have any certification. And if their human healthcare provider signs off saying you have a service dog, that's all that's needed. You know, again, that's one of the reasons why I started Assistance Animals Consulting, was to help provide some additional oversight, because I saw the gaps and I saw like, hey, how is it fair that, yes, a human health care professional rightfully knows about their human patient and their disabilities. And I'm thankful that they think that this person can improve with the support of an animal. Like we know there are truths there, but how is it fair that they're prescribing an animal without having a conversation with a veterinary professional, right? Because as a veterinarian, or as veterinarians, we're the ones trained in animal behavior. We're the ones trained in animal health and welfare. And so really there needs to be a more comprehensive partnership before that prescription is sent off, with a veterinary professional saying, oh, okay, this partnership looks good. And there needs to be frequent evaluations to ensure the safety, not only of that animal, but of that person too, to make sure that that therapeutic bond, that human-animal bond, and that therapeutic bond is sound on both sides of the leash.
That's
wow.
Perfect.
You've blown my mind again twice. Because I really thought they had to be prescribed, prescribed by a doctor and put through an official, training camp, and then they're yours, and, that was it. And like, that's why I was like, looking at you sideways like a puppy with his ears going to the side. What do you mean?
But yeah. Question though in this, so basically what you're saying, at least what I'm gathering, is there's no system at the point where they periodically evaluate that unit to make sure everything is working well with them. There's nothing established to make that happen.
There's nothing established by state or federal law, right? Mm-hmm. However, we have established that at Assistance Animals Consulting when we, evaluate our human-animal partnerships, right? And, when people come through a program, there are conversations that we have with their human healthcare provider, there are conversations that we have with their regular veterinarian to make sure everybody is aligned on what is needed for this person and what is needed for this animal, from the beginning to the end, even up to the point of, all right, it's time for us to start considering retirement. When are we going to bring in another animal, to support your health and wellness? So that is part of our program.
That's perfect. That needs to be further, wider. Goodness. Right?
Yeah. I didn't even know they could retire.
Yeah, yeah, as they should. I mean, their life expectancy is not as long as ours. And so they certainly start to develop, some can develop senior diseases, health diseases. They can develop arthritis. They can develop cognitive dysfunction. So it's important if they're working in a role supporting their handler that, you know, that they're healthy enough to maintain their role in their positions.
Wow. So when, no matter the type of animal that someone may need, whether it's a service dog or emotional support animal, and then I wrote down the other one, psychiatric service dog. I'm so proud of myself. Thank you, pushing the button. Um, where, as a potential client, where does somebody want to reach out to you? Is it in the very beginning when they hear the news, you got to get assistance, or is it after they've gotten their animal? When should somebody reach out to you, Dr. Houston?
The ideal world is at the very beginning because we want to avoid missteps. However, if you need support and you're already somewhere in between, you can still give us a call for us to help align everything. And as you say, you can give us, you can give us a call. You can reach out on our website, assistanceanimalsconsulting.com, on our social media pages, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Our phone number is 205-277-0277. I mean, we're here to support you.
Awesome. Fantastic. I have learned so much on this Facebook Live, and I'm so happy you came here, Dr. Houston. And I love how you built your company so that it is a practice that can cover all animals that can be of assistance to a human. And, I think that's amazing. Do you do your own podcast, or do you do consultations or anything like that?
So I don't do my own podcast, but typically if someone requests, I happily join other people when they request a podcast conversation. Our consultations, if we're local, we certainly can do local consultations, but our organization is set up to be able to provide support virtually. Right. And that's one thing that I was very thankful about with the pandemic, because I was a little ahead of my time with setting up this organization virtually. But it really helps us to align providing support and, throughout the United States, being able to do virtual conversations and align their regular veterinarians with their human healthcare professionals.
That's
absolutely
perfect. Well, I'm hoping, gosh, time has gone by really quickly. Told you it was going to
go. I know.
Told you. But what I want to do is have you come back again in the future, because I'm sure there's more that you can educate us in reference to service animals. And it's a topic that we need to continue to discuss. Another thing, just a thought that I had about service animals in general. I think there needs to be etiquette training on how to deal with people that have service animals, because people don't know how to respond. They're worried about they don't want to offend anyone, or the question part, also how people deal with the service dog. Folks want to run up and pet them and everything and all that. So there needs to be some etiquette training, I think, around that as far as,
Yeah.
So.
Well, I thank you guys for having me. I'm passionate about this. This was a great conversation. Kudos, Dr. Nelva, for, when pets fly and all that you're doing for us and the public, and learning about, what our needs are with transporting, our companion animals or our support animals. So you guys keep going at it.
Definitely. Definitely want to have you back for more. Like I said, definitely need that. And again, we need to keep this topic of service animals. And I believe the individuals, the human that has the service animal, is going to be happy to hear this information that you shared today. So,
Absolutely. And let's see, Dr. Houston, do you want to share an email that people can get back to you, or is there just a general one on your website they can find?
Yeah, they can do info at assistanceanimalsconsulting.com. And I failed to mention, you can also follow me on Instagram, Dr. Rhesa Houston, or LinkedIn as well, Dr. Rhesa Houston.
Perfect.
Absolutely. We have the information scrolling. We had somebody check in earlier today. Let's see if I can get, and they just wanted to say, I'm not sure if you know this young lady. Trying to see if, there she is. She just wanted to say good afternoon. She was here watching and listening, and I wanted to let you guys know just in case you knew her. But yes. So we did have someone reach out and say hello.
Oh,
Awesome.
Okay.
all right.
Well, thank you again, Dr. Houston.
You're welcome. Thank you guys for having me.
And Dr. Bryant, is there any last words you'd like to say?
No, I'm very happy for Rhesa being here. Again, I want you to come again in the future, and I'm really proud of what she's doing, and definitely support her in every way that I can. Want to keep you going. So thank you for supporting me, and I definitely support you.
Yes, you're welcome.
Yep,
Okay,
yep.
well, it's time to go, everyone. Thank you again, and you have a great day.
Yep, bye-bye.
Let's see, I pushed the end. Okay, there, oh,
It's
end.
still on.
Okay.
Got it.